Hey everyone, CPO here, and in this video I'm doing a boost tap on my 2019 Go.fast.r. It's the Precision Raceworks Manifold Tap. I'll show you the install and show you a couple of tips along the way. All right, so this is the Precision Raceworks Manifold Boost Tap. Basically plugs into the side of the manifold. I'll explain that here in a minute. What I like about this one is it has a built-in 1/8 inch NPT port, plus it gives you the option for 2 additional boost ports. So as a matter of fact, here is the boost sensor that comes with my AEM X series gauge, and it's going to plug right directly into this manifold tap, which means I don't need to have any additional vacuum tubing to run. And you can see here you can install these nipples for additional outlets. Now there are these O-rings. You want to make sure you use the O-rings. And then you can plug up anything that you don't want to use, including that 1/8 inch NPT. So there I have the 2 ports plugged at the top. So I'm going to use a PTFE paste thread sealant. I tend to do that with my fittings of this nature. So I'm just going to add that on there and then screw it in. And I'm just going to stick this into the vise to hold the sensor, and then I'll use a wrench to tighten down the boost tap to it. I do like that they give you a place to put a 3/4 inch wrench. So I am going to vacuum test this before I put it on the car, just because I'm sort of like that. I have this little OEM Tools a vacuum pump that I like to use for these kinds of things. I'm going to go ahead and take off one of the O-rings off of the boost tap and then stick the vacuum hose straight onto it. And that way I can pull vacuum using the pump, and I should not have any leak down. Well, that's not good. I've got leak down. So something is leaking. I'm going to loosen up one, tighten it back up, and I see right away that that fixed my problem. So for some reason that wasn't seated. Maybe the O-ring was sort of cockeyed in there or something like that, but now it's holding pressure. So I could leave it like this, but I'm not that kind of guy. So I'm actually going to take it apart to see if I can figure out why that didn't hold to begin with. My guess is I probably pinched that O-ring, and yeah, as it turns out, I did. You can see here, somehow I managed to mangle it, and it still works. I'm still able to hold pressure with it. So I'm not going to necessarily replace it, but I'm just going to go ahead on the safe side and add some thread sealant to these little plugs. If I didn't have that, quite frankly, I would just use a blue thread locker. This thread sealant is designed for hydraulic fittings, and I've used it. I used it when I put my quick jack fittings together. So it will work in addition to the O-ring to ensure that those threads get sealed up so I don't have any boost leaks. So anyway, it's all back together, and there you go. I am holding pressure fine, which means I can go ahead and feel comfortable installing this on the car. So there's a look at the finished product. Make sure you put your O-ring back on. So it's going to go right here in the right side of the manifold, the driver's side, and it's kind of a port that's specifically there to tap into, which is kind of nice, except for you need to poke a hole in it. It's sealed. So I happen to have these 16-penny nails. Some boost taps will come with hardware to puncture that hole, and quite frankly, they come with a nail. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to put this in a vise grip, and then I'm going to melt the hole. So what I need, though, is a straight shot, and I'm removed my intake hose, and that way I can get a straight shot with that nail once I heat it up. So I'm just going to use a regular lighter to heat this up. I'm going to heat it up for 45 seconds to a minute. I could use a torch, but most people don't have torches laying around, so just going to heat it up to show you how this can be done. So the benefit of doing it this way is you don't have the risk of cracking it if you try and hammer in the nail. And you can use a drill, but then you have the risk of debris getting inside the intake manifold, which you don't really want. By the way, I'm doing this real time so you can see exactly how long it takes to pierce this. And I am applying quite a bit of pressure. And I'm just slowly sort of pushing this through the center of that port. I do have the car heated up, so even though I am not hammering on it, which you definitely want to have the manifold nice and warm if you do that, this method I still have the manifold warmed up, took the car for a drive, and then came back and did this. But that nail is eventually going to make its way through and burst through the manifold, and there we go. Now I have that hole there. Using a little screwdriver, you can see that that is now an open port. So this entire assembly can now slide into place. I really like how this works. Now there's a little metal clip that you used to lock the boost tap into place. The clip that came with my kit was too wide. It was spaced out too open, so I took a pair of channel lock pliers and crimped it down a little bit. And bad news, I actually crimped it down too much. So when I went to try and put it back on, I couldn't do it with my hands. So I went back and loosened it up just a little bit, and then was able to, with quite a bit of pressure, but with my hands, get it clamped into place, and that's going to lock it right there. So yeah, that is the boost tap with the associated boost sensor installed. I can put my intake pipes back on, and yeah, that's the finished product. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is running the wires for my boost gauge, the AEM X Series boost gauge. But just so you can see what that would look like, I'll go ahead and plug in the wires, and you can get a look at what I'm going to be dealing with. There's these two wires that are connected right here to that sensor that reads the boost pressure. Yeah, so that's how it works. Anyway, guys, stay tuned. More on the way, the install of the boost gauge and also an air-fuel ratio gauge coming up. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.